Hello and happy Pride Month. This is going to be our last video of the month, so we wanted to talk about something Pride related. Please excuse whatever my hair is doing. I took a shower and my hair does not like humidity very much, so this is what we're going with. I am mostly crow of the safety pins, but I'm also being, I guess, passive influenced by TW and AJ, and Sylvia Eve is probably in the mix somewhere. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about our transsexuality mostly, why we use that term, and just yeah, some trans, some queer content. We do want to say we went to the DC Dyke March 2023, and it was amazing. It was great. We got this shirt there. This is actually for last year's Dyke March, which we also attended. And at the DC Dyke March, we met a system that liked our. We have an "I'm the Evil Altar" patch on our shared vest. So shout out to that system. Not going to name them without their consent, but like, hi if you're watching this. Uh, so I'm assuming that pretty much everyone watching knows what it is to be transgender. But to sum this up, being transgender is identifying on some level with the gender you weren't assigned at birth, or not identifying with the gender you were assigned at birth, I guess. This is currently like the default term for people who are not cis, but it wasn't always. One misconception that we can't stand is the idea that because it's the more modern term, it's the less offensive one, and that's not true. So, transgender became the default term within the past, like, probably 20 years or so, um, at the most, honestly. But it's still not the only term. For a very long time, and talking like a century here, the main word for people who were not cis was transsexual. Transsexual specifically refers nowadays to someone who has, on some level, medically or physically transitioned or intends to. This obviously is not all trans people. A lot of transgender people are not transsexual. But yeah, that was the term for a very long time, and it is still a term that people use. There's a modern misconception that it's a slur against trans people, and it really isn't. It's not more of a slur than transgender is. It's just a term that a lot of people don't like to use, which is fine. Just don't call people terms they don't identify with. It doesn't have to be a slur for it to be bad to do that to someone. But yeah, nowadays transsexual largely refers to those physically transitioning people, though in the past transsexual is really referred to anyone who intrinsically really identifies as something other than their birth sex. We've also got transvestite in there. The most simple definition being someone who wears clothes that don't match their assigned gender. This isn't quite the same as cross-dressing. Probably get into that like later, or you can join our Discord and ask us about it, and we will not shut up. Now we're going to be talking about, well, transsexual, why we use that, and also why we don't really call ourselves transgender anymore. The main reason we identify as transsexual is because our collective identities are those that pertain mostly to the body. Our body is not a transgender body, it is a transsexual body. It is a body that has been on multiple kinds of hormone therapies since we were around, I want to say 14, I think. Could be wrong on that, but like since we were around 14, we have been on various forms of hormone therapy. Obviously, our body is pretty visibly androgynous, and I guess audibly androgynous. And that's like the most universal identity that anyone has in this body. A lot of our members don't identify as trans individually. We have a handful of cis people in here, some people who don't call themselves transsexual, and some people who don't call themselves transgender. But we consider our body to be that because our body's sex is being changed. One other misconception about the word transsexual that drives us insane is the idea that it's problematic because it implies that being trans is a sexuality. It doesn't, though. Transsexual is trans, across, changing, sex, biological sex, and then ual to refer to make it a noun. A transsexual. Yeah, I mean this was like kind of like the discourse when switching over to largely transgender by the community. And it's like sometimes a suffix is used for multiple words, and that actually does not mean that those words mean the same thing. It wasn't ever really that much of a point of confusion, and also frankly, I think that the active separating of sexuality from gender was probably not in small part influenced by TERFs gaining a lot of traction and not wanting the sexualities to be associated with the transes, and also just people having a lack of nuance and thinking the problem, as usual, thinking the problem is our terms and how people identify with them instead of people just not caring to learn about them. In response to that change, transgender also became a smaller umbrella term as recently as, like, I want to say the 1990s, maybe 2000s. Um, Transgender was being defined by many people, including Leslie Feinberg. May her memory be a blessing. Love Leslie Feinberg, including a ton of people under that umbrella. We personally include the same people. It includes crossdressers, butches, drag kings, queens, whatever, and obviously transsexuals and some transvestites. And we personally like that definition the most. This video is a bit rambly because it's just like we care about this, but we want to have kind of a chill video, and we don't want it to be super long. We just kind of wanted to like dip our toes into explaining it. One thing we do want to be clear about our transsexuality is that we consider ourselves to be transsexual in both directions. We are both transmasculine and transfeminine physically. We do not think we owe anyone an explanation on how that works or which one came first or if both came at the same time. In within our system, we also have various identities. I, Crow, identify as both transfeminine and transmasculine, whereas AJ identifies as female to male. Sylvia identifies as a transgender girl, and TW and Riley identify as primarily non-binary. TW identifies as specifically a dyke in all ways, and Riley is gender fluid. Specifically gender fluid in a way that isn't cis or trans. It's just kind of weird, in their words. I'm personally a big fan of weird and messy genders, and I think people should do weird and messy gender more often. I personally really like how diverse our experience of genders is, even in this body. I mean, we do have 5 cisgender men, and that's pretty funny. They do not really understand this body, but that's okay. They just don't know what the hell's going on. Good for them, good for them. Oh, this is also a good segue to say that we have recently published 2 zines, if you haven't seen them. The first one is the Dyke Manifesto. It was written by me, AJ, and TW together. It's pretty much what it says on the tin. So if you want to hear our feelings on the word dyke, dyke history, dyke culture, dyke identity, you can go ahead and grab that for $4, I think. And then I wrote Sex Hormone Cocktail, which is specifically about doing transsexuality in weird ways. Because I don't know, I'm really passionate about that. I want people to know about all the ways that they can make their gender weirder. It is all about forms of sex reassignment and gender transition that deviate from the norm. My dream is just for a ton of gender fucked trans people to have the most gender fucked bodies they could possibly dream of. And that's also my dream. I would like to be one of those trans people, please. That's what we're getting to. Yeah, I think that's what we're getting to. That makes us happiest collectively. We mostly want the ability to present however we like in our body as individuals. So we very much like our body being androgynous, and I mean androgynous, not ambiguous. That's another thing I'm weirdly passionate about. Androgyny being the combination of male and female traits, with ambiguity and neutrality being just kind of the absence. And we just love androgyny. It makes it a lot easier for all of us to present. Also, it makes us kind of a queer magnet because it's very obvious that we're trans. And, we're fond of that. We like people being able to clock us as trans, like the right people, that is. So, yeah, that was my little ramble on transsexuality. Um, Tomorrow, after this video goes out, so tomorrow, Sunday the 25th, we are going to be tabling, like having a vendor's table at Pride in the Plaza. It is in Silver Spring, Maryland. So if you live in the DC, Maryland area, you can come over and see us. We are going to be tabling as a body at all, and we're very excited to vend at such a large event while being openly plural. We're also going to be selling zines and a lot of candy. We were hoping to sell pin buttons, but our button press is fighting us on it. So I think that's all. I don't know, like, comment, and subscribe for more of me rambling. Usually we're a bit more scripted, but it's 11 p.m. This video has to go up in like 13 hours. We've been super busy all week. Like, I'm surrounded by craft supplies. You can't see it. But we've been insanely busy trying to get ready for this event and like have enough stock of everything to like get us through it. This has been that. Like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell if you want to, I guess. We normally upload on Saturdays at noon. We'll see if this goes up at that time. And as mentioned before, we have our Discord server linked below. We have our websites and our Ko-Fi, coffee, whatever the fuck, linked below. And usually our videos, are less rambly. Okay, see you around.